obviously the first one that we have to talk about that I think everyone has talked about is the Houston Rockets signing Dylan Brooks to a 4-year, $80 million deal, which could potentially go all the way up to $86 million. The conversation around Dylan Brooks has been crazy because all the memes of him in the offseason was that he's going to be starting for, the Chinese team in the CBA, what was it, Guangdong Tigers,
Yeah.
Beijing Ducks, whatever. Everyone's making memes about how he's going to be in China. And then he turns around and gets an $80 million deal, which, by the way, has no team option on the last deal on the last year. It's a full $80 million guaranteed, which is pretty crazy for a guy who performed as badly as he did last season to end off the season, and especially how loudly he performed that badly, right? So I think I did not expect him to be in the be in the CBA, but I think all of us thought that maybe he takes a 1 year sort of let's say 1 year $8 million kind of deal,
Like a prove it deal.
basically. He takes that deal, and then next year he comes back and hopefully he performs good this year and comes back next year. But Houston threw the bag at him, threw him 4 years, $80 million, which is absolutely insane. But I think there was literally no reason to give this much money to Dylan Brooks. I don't know who they were competing against, who they were bidding against.
The CBA was bidding hard, yo.
Apparently, man. I legit don't know who they were bidding against for Dylan Brooks. Listen, he's a good guy to have on your team purely for his defensive chops, right? He's a good defender. He's among the best defenders in the league, no doubt. He can be a good veteran presence in the room, but he's shown to also be immature at times, especially on the Memphis Grizzlies team. But I think Dylan Brooks, he's shown that he potentially has leadership value, but he sometimes it's not there. He doesn't put it together all the way.
Yeah, so the Houston Rockets definitely had a lot of money to spend. They went shopping, as I just said. But first and foremost, 4 years? That's a long commitment to Dylan Brooks. Even for the Houston Rockets, I wouldn't have been too upset if it was a 2-year, $40 million deal. That makes sense to me because, again, it's not too long term, or maybe a 1+1, with a team option at the end of it, just to say, okay, hey, if you're not good, we can get out of it or something. But the fact that you put no options at the end of it, you put no control, it's guaranteed $80 million for 4 years. It's a lot, especially for a player like Dylan Brooks, who, let's be honest here, his ceiling is nowhere near as high as some of the other players you mentioned, like Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, KPJ. His ceiling is not as high as those guys.
Amen Thompson
Now. Because let's be honest with you, he's not the priority for Houston to develop. Houston's priority should be on guys like Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, and Alperen Şengün. So those should be Houston's priorities. But, I mean, hey, you got money, might as well spend it,